Presidential debates since 1960 have been a really important aspect of American presidential campaigns. It's really the only moment where the candidates give up control and are put in a situation where they have to be spontaneous and where they have to be on stage with their opponents. So it's quite an unusual and important stop on the campaign trail. The debates over the years have produced a number of very memorable moments, starting back in 1960 when Richard Nixon was in bad health and sweated on camera. Kennedy looked great by contrast. And ever since then, the visual importance of debates has been sort of part of what candidates prepare for and how they approach the debates. As we go through the years, there have been a number of memorable moments, mistakes that candidates have made, such as Gerald Ford saying that Eastern Europe wasn't under Soviet domination. Things, very simple things like glancing down at a watch in the middle of a town hall debate, which the first President Bush did and was criticized for. And then put downs, sort of zingers that one candidate gets off against another. These are some of the things that people remember out of debates because it is an unusual clash and an unusual moment when the candidates are really up there side by side battling it out.
You already are the oldest president in history, and some of your staff say you were tired after your most recent encounter with Mr. Mondale. I recall yet that President Kennedy had to go for days on end with very little sleep during the Cuba Missile Crisis. Is there any doubt in your mind that you would be able to function in such circumstances?
Not at all, Mr. Truitt, and I want you to know that also I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit for political purposes my opponent's youth and inexperience.
I think there have been a lot of game changers over the years, but I think that a really important debate was the very first town hall debate in 1992 where voters asked the questions, because Bill Clinton was so effective and so empathetic in that format that it really showed the importance of being able to talk directly to voters and sell that message in that kind of a context. So I would cite that as a really key and pivotal moment in debate history. The moderator plays a very important role, and this has become an increasingly politicized question because really the moderator is there to facilitate the conversation. The debate should be between the candidates, obviously, and yet the way the moderator asks questions, the distribution of time, the tone, all of those things can kind of come back to haunt the moderator if people perceive that he or she is favoring one side or the other. I think for this 2016 set of debates, and particularly the first debate, it has the potential to attract the largest audience that these things have ever had. We're talking about audiences the size of 100 plus million people domestically alone, which is like the Super Bowl, because the Super Bowl in any given year is the highest rated program of the year ratings wise, and I think this time this particular set of competitors and the level of interest in the debates, this could be the year that we break those debate records. When I watch debates, I always like to see how the candidates treat each other because I think that tells you a lot about who they are just as human beings. So we have such an interesting contrast here, male versus female, the political contrast, experience versus outsider, and all of those things I think are going to create a high level of clash. I think that'll be interesting to watch.